Amen.
Amen. I want to invite you to turn your Bibles to Daniel chapter 5. I'm not going to read the entire chapter because it's kind of long. We're going to talk about the entire chapter. And so I'm going to read the verses you're going to see there. I'm going to read those, 1 to 5. And so we have a new king. Nebuchadnezzar's gone. His son's in place. King Belshazzar gave a great banquet for 1,000 of his nobles and drank wine with them. While Belshazzar was drinking his wine, he gave orders to bring in the gold and silver goblets that Nebuchadnezzar, his father, had taken from the temple in Jerusalem, so that the king and his nobles, his wives, and his concubines might drink from them. So they brought in the gold goblets that had been taken from the temple of God in Jerusalem, and the king and his nobles, his wives, and his concubines drank from them. As they drank the wine, they praised the gods of gold and silver, of bronze, iron, wood, and stone. Suddenly the fingers of a human hand appeared and wrote on the plaster of the wall near the lampstand in the royal palace. The king watched the hand as it wrote. His face turned pale, and he was so frightened that his knees knocked together and his legs gave way. Moving on to verse 12. This man Daniel, whom the king called Belteshazzar, was found to have a keen mind and knowledge and understanding, and also the ability to interpret dreams, explain riddles, and solve difficult problems. Call for Daniel, and he will tell you what the writing means. So Daniel was brought before the king, and the king said to him, Are you Daniel, one of the exiles my father the king brought from Judah? I have heard that the spirit of the gods is in you, and that you have insight, intelligence, and outstanding wisdom. The wise men and enchanters were brought before me to read this writing and tell me what it means, but they could not explain it. Now I have heard that you are able to give interpretations and solve problems. If you can read this writing and tell me what it means, you will be clothed in purple and have a gold chain placed around your neck, and you will be made the third highest ruler in the kingdom. Then Daniel answered the king, You may keep your gifts for yourself and give your rewards to someone else. Nevertheless, I will read the writing for the king and tell him what it means. On to verse 25. This is the inscription that was written. Mene, mene, tekel, parsin. This is what these words mean. Mene, God has numbered the days of your reign and brought it to an end. Tekel, you have been weighed on the scales and found wanting. Peres, your kingdom is divided and given to the Medes and the Persians. Then at Belshazzar's command, Daniel was clothed in purple, a gold chain was placed around his neck, and he was proclaimed the third highest ruler in the kingdom. That very night, Belshazzar, king of the Babylonians, was slain, and Darius the Mede took over the kingdom at the age of 62. And you've probably heard the expression, he saw the writing on the wall. It's used by believers and non-believers alike to basically refer to someone who becomes aware of their demise before it happens. There's usually warning signs before somebody gets fired. And so they resign due to pressure from the outside, and usually when somebody resigns, you hear people say something like, well, they saw the writing on the wall. And we all know situations, I'm sure you can think of situations right off the top of your head where that happens. And since you're probably going to get fired, it looks better if you resign for personal reasons rather than getting fired. So when you go for your next job, you can say, well, I left for personal reasons, not I got canned. And so today, we're going to meet the original guy who literally saw the writing on the wall. This is where the expression comes from. King Belshazzar is given a great banquet. And Daniel tells us that 1,000 nobles are drinking with them. And while they're having high times, the king gives orders to bring in the gold and silver goblets that his father took from the temple in Jerusalem, so that he and all the nobles and his harem can drink from them. Now, they're not just getting drunk, they're using the best elements from the house of God to indulge in their revelry. And to top it off, verse 4 tells us that as they drank, they praised the gods of gold, silver, bronze, iron, wood, and stone. And that really is, there's no other way to say it, and that's the epitome of evil. They're worshiping creation, created things, instead of the Creator. And all the things that made up that statue that Nebuchadnezzar's first dream, that giant statue, the gold, silver, bronze, and all the other stuff that was made up, they're worshiping that stuff. Now worship, we talk about this, worship being the most important thing that we do. But this crew's doing that to all the wrong stuff. They're worshiping the wrong stuff. In John's vision, in Revelation chapter 9, John sees something similar and describes it the same way Daniel does. In Revelation 9:20, we read, the rest of mankind that were not killed by the plagues still did not repent of the work of their hands. They did not stop worshiping demons and idols of gold, silver, bronze, stone, and wood, idols they cannot see, hear, or walk, nor they repent. Those who choose not to worship God end up worshiping and praising gods of gold and silver and all that other stuff. They just do. They can't possibly save you. And what's sort of funny is the more it doesn't work, the harder they try to do it. And so in this case, hey, we're just not drunk enough. Let's get drunker, and let's use the stuff from Jerusalem. Let's really kind of stick it to them as if God is somehow losing through all this. So as this crew is reveling in all their glory, something happens. Verse 5 tells us that suddenly the fingers of a human hand appeared and wrote on the plaster of the wall near the lampstand in the royal palace. Now that'd be a sight to see, just a hand show up and start writing. That would get your attention. As much attention as you want to pay to the hand when it's writing, do take notice to where it is writing. It wrote near their lampstand. You can remember from Revelation what the lampstand was supposed to do. The lampstand lifts up the light. And the light of the world is Jesus. Anyone who doesn't lift up the light, what did Revelation say? I will remove your lampstand from its place. And you won't even have the ability to lift up any light. And so the hand shows up and writes near the lampstand. Notice, you're not worshiping the right stuff. That's not what it said, but you're wrong. You need to do it right. And so, and anyone who doesn't lift up the light of Jesus, it is going down. So it's no accident. But the writing shows up right there. Now, this gets the king's attention, and he watches this mysterious hand writes on the wall. And as he watches, his face turns pale, and he was so frightened his knees knocked together and his legs gave way. Now, I've been scared at different times in my life. I don't think I've ever been knee-buckling scared, I don't think. And so whatever he's seeing instills intense fear in King Belshazzar. And he goes from happy-go-lucky drunk to scared stupid. And so he does what any good king would do in his day, any king who doesn't know God. He calls for his enchanters, astrologers, and diviners to be brought to him and see if they can help him with the situation. All the king's horses and all the king's men, right? And so he tells these guys, whoever can read this writing, talk about incentive. Is this not incentivized? Whoever can read this writing, tell me what it means, will get all kinds of cool stuff. And be third highest in the kingdom. Whew. Third highest. That's significant. That means there's only two above you. Now, the worldly people, that's what they're aiming for. That's incentive. So I'd say these guys racked their brains pretty hard to try to figure this out. And verse 8 tells us that none of them could figure it out, which made the king even more scared. Finally, the queen tells the king about Daniel. She reminds him how much Daniel helped Nebuchadnezzar. So Belshazzar calls in Daniel and makes him the same offer. A whole bunch of stuff, third place in the kingdom. And I love Daniel's answer in verse 17. Daniel's my kind of guy right here. You can keep your gifts for yourself and give your awards to somebody else. Nevertheless, I'll read the writing for the king and tell him what it means. Daniel doesn't want the king's stuff. It doesn't mean anything to Daniel. And it shouldn't mean anything to us. Anything this world has to offer and the more they offer it, the less you should want it. Because Daniel's a servant of God. He doesn't do things for a reward or a pat on the back or recognition. He does proceed to give the king a history lesson. Nebuchadnezzar was a powerful king, the most powerful king in the world, but he got too big for his britches. And God humbled him, stripped him of his glory, and made him live with the animals for 7 years until he recognized that the Most High is sovereign over the kingdoms. And we saw that last week where Nebuchadnezzar had his eyes open. He's like, wow, this God that Daniel worships is the real God. I'm worshiping him. So then, how the king's son, Nebuchadnezzar's son Belshazzar, doesn't get that. This is one of those cases where the apple did venture a little further from the tree. He doesn't seem to want to humble himself the way his dad did. So then Daniel tells the king that the current king, he has problems. Even though he watched his father go through all that stuff, Belshazzar doesn't humble himself. Instead, he spits in the face of God by using the temple furnishings to get drunk, continues to worship the gods of gold, silver, bronze, iron, wood, stone, and does not honor God, who holds his hand on the very king's life. God is sovereign over all. I mean, anybody who has anything has it because God gave it to them. Anybody who is anything is that because God gave it to them. So God sent a hand to write on the wall. And there's 3 words. One repeats itself. There's 3 words that the hand writes in verse 25. Mene, tekel, parsin. And none of these words is difficult to understand, which makes it perplexing as to why all the king's men couldn't figure it out. They're supposed to be the smartest guys in the kingdom, but they either didn't know how to figure it out, or they did figure it out and they were afraid to tell the king what it meant. So it's hard to say why they couldn't figure it out. Maybe who knows? But Daniel knew what it meant. Mene means that God had numbered the days of your reign and brought it to an end. The fact that it's used twice means they don't repeat themselves unless they really mean it in Scripture, especially the Old Testament. And so the fact that it was written twice, it's just for emphasis. And so there's no doubt, there's no confusion. This king is done, and it's going to happen pretty soon. You can read later it happened that night. So it was game over. It was game over soon. Tekel means that the king had been weighed on the scales and found wanting. You ever see the scales of justice? That little picture with the scales, and they always want them to balance. And he's been weighed, and he's been found lacking. This king, for all his power, is seriously lacking. That is not a good thing to be. And the last word, paris or parson, it's different ways to translate. That means that the kingdom is divided and given to 2 different groups, the Medes and the Persians. And surely no wonder the king's knees were shaking and his legs gave way. This is the scariest scenario for any king, to not be in power, to have his kingdom divided. This is the worst case scenario for Belshazzar. And it happened as he was celebrating something. He gave a great banquet, to exalt himself. It ends up being his last night on earth. But it's the scariest scenario. We read that Daniel was rewarded. He got all the reward. He got all the stuff that the king wanted to give him, 3rd highest position in the kingdom. And then that very night he was slain. And Darius took over the kingdom. And as I prayed and I pondered all week, and for a little bit, I knew we were coming to this. When I started Daniel, I knew we'd eventually get to chapter 5. And pondered what this means for us. I believe God showed me something. We're currently part of a church, not here at Plum, but it's a large denomination that's divided. And it's not because I want it to be. I mean, it is what it is. It's back to the scale metaphor. I step on a scale and it comes up what it is. We're part of a church that's divided, and we aren't exactly sure what's going to happen. We aren't sure what we're going to do. We've done some things. We've put some things in motion, but we aren't even sure if what we've done is going to work, or if it's working. But I believe the writing's on the wall today. I believe this is very much different than what Belshazzar saw. The question we need to ask ourselves upon is that we got to read the writing on the wall and tell the king and tell the powers that be that their days are numbered. They're lacking, and it is divided. Do we have what it takes to do that? Do we have what it takes to be Daniel? There was one song we sing, Dare to be a Daniel. Dare to be a Daniel. A triple dog, dare to be a Daniel. I can stick my tongue to the pole. Is that all the same movie? Daniel rose to 3rd in the kingdom. The worldly kingdom. Not by following the worldly king. That's not possible to do. You only rise in the world if you follow the world. But he got to be 3rd in the kingdom because he served the fellow only God. And that's what we got to do. We got to dare to be that Daniel. He ends up in the lion's den in the next chapter. Kind of an up and down kind of thing here for Daniel. He ends up in the lion's den. And who knows, by serving God, we could end up in the lion's den. But guess what happened? Well, we'll wait till next week to find out what happened to Daniel in the lion's den. You already know. But sometimes serving God puts us 3rd in the kingdom, and sometimes serving God puts us in the lion's den. I'd rather be 3rd than the lion's den, but we've got to be ready for both because we serve and follow the same God that Daniel served, the same God that Daniel followed. And that's good stuff. Let's pray. Father God, help us as we move, Lord, in ministry, Lord, here at Plum. Thank you for so much. You are awesome, and you've been awesome to us, probably more than we deserve. But Lord, help us as we see the writings on the wall. It's not difficult to read, but Lord, sometimes it's difficult to live into. Help us as whoever wrote that song, Dare to be a Daniel, Lord, they wrote it for times like this. And help us, Lord, to be what you need us to be, Lord, to collectively be the Daniel. Lord, that might need to tell the powers that be, you're not right, and we're following God. And Lord, again, it took Daniel to the lions, then it took you to the cross. But Lord, only the cross led to the empty tomb. So Lord, Lead us and help us to follow you. Give us grace to follow you and serve you only. It's in your name we pray. Amen.